bad. So I've told the story how I was walked to the front of the auditorium at the LOC, and they just walked me to the front and left me and didn't tell me what was going to happen. And when I was sitting there, the room was filled with all types of people, including military and people that looked like they were political. And the people in the front started heckling me. And in the middle of heckling me, everyone got real quiet, and you can see why. These two beings appeared behind me. It's the first time he had ever seen this golden triangle-headed being, and it was just kind of, I don't know, it's like it was underwater and it didn't have any bones. It was just it was weird. And it used its toes as tripods, and it was going up and down on those as well. And so that got the attention of all of the people in the room, and then they started to ask me questions, and Tier Air was answering through me. The cabal, for the lack of a better word. The cabal is not a single group that cannot be defeated. It is a group of loosely knit, materialistic syndicates. They're just criminal syndicate groups. That's all they are. They want us to build them up as an all-powerful force that cannot be defeated. That's part of the mind control. And as y'all are seeing, it looks like their time is done. It's becoming so obvious. Yeah. Some of the groups are real pragmatic, nuts and bolts, scientific, and they stick to that way of thinking. But others are very esoteric, very much into these different dark belief systems where, you know, they use sacrifice and all kinds of horrible things to try to boost their magic. I think we've talked about it on Jimmy Church's show. Very recently, after the change in administrations, the military-industrial complex, after some changes, started to send Marines into some of these FEMA bases. After the change of administration, a lot of them were supposed to give up their power. Instead, they locked the doors. So these Marines were sent to break through all the concrete, cut through the steel, and give them one opportunity to surrender. And if they didn't surrender, they were to kill everyone in the entire base. And it was, and these bases can, as you know, hold a lot of people. These Marines were special forces, and they were not briefed on anything non-terrestrial. They just thought they were going in to clean out a bunch of criminals. After they had breached the base, they found themselves face to face with reptilians doing battle with them. And a lot of these Marines are, you know, Southern boys, you know, and next thing you know, they're fighting something that looks like the devil, according to their belief systems. So these guys were so incredibly traumatized, they couldn't function after this battle. This was very recently, in the last 2 months. Yeah, and a lot of other bases are being cleared out. The Draco are not all powerful. They have been defeated in the past. Over the millennia, the reptilians have been kicked off of our planet. They come back during times of weakness, like after a cataclysm, which is what happened most recently about 12,800 years ago. We had a huge cataclysm which destroyed a civilization that you are familiar with, Atlantis. And this group was keeping the reptilians in check at that time. And after they got flattened, the reptilians came back in force, and we have the mess we have now. And apparently, they are playing a negative role, their group consciousness is. When Tier Air showed me our group consciousness, it was pictured, it was shown to me as a person that has extreme PTSD and is somewhat schizophrenic. It has been extremely traumatized. And it turns out that our superconsciousness has been in an abusive relationship with the superconsciousness of this reptilian group. And it's like a cosmic domestic violence type situation and we're both supposed to be learning something through this process. There are a number of groups that make up the Draco Federation, one of which is these insectoid beings. And they have different types you've all heard of, very ant-like beings, mantis-type beings. And they genetically modify their own genome and create these types of other insectoids that some people see that have like 4 arms. They can design them to do whatever they want. In the beginning, the ancient breakaway civilizations, they were kind of, it was just a concept. I was reading about it on the smart glass pads. And, I got the general information that they had been making contact with us for a long time. They had been helping us after cataclysms. And we were considered them, a lot of the people in the past considered them gods. In this case, the Mayan group, they are completely service to others. That is their mandate. Back when they were on Earth, they were not originally from here. They had been brought here from the Pleiades during a rough time in their star system. And their population grew to over 40 million people. And they disappeared because their group came back to get them and remove them from the planet. But they did leave a contingent behind that had underground bases and also have bases in the Kuiper Belt. So they've been here with us the whole time. The interplanetary corporate conglomerate. We've talked about how they use slave labor. They have been in continual trade with over 900 ET species. And believe it or not, non-terrestrials from other star systems are traveling here because they love the technology we build. There are ETs coming to trade in their used cars for cars that we built. If that's not bizarre, I mean, that's how far ahead our breakaway civilization is. Now, they don't have money in the cosmos. It's a barter system. And they barter and trade technology and biological material. And I'll kind of leave it at that. I don't want to get too dark, but it involves the human slave trade with close to 1 million people a year. The inner Earth seems to be probably the most popular topic that I've talked about. A lot of you remember me talking about witnessing the city in the deep cavern. This is an animation that Renee created to help depict it. It's very good. The only difference is the cavern was the size of a state. There's no way to really accurately depict on scale how large it was. Unbelievable. There was mist up along the ceiling of the cavern. It was, like New York or Manhattan under the ground. Inside these pillars, natural pillars, they had built into them. It looked like a bunch of condos. I guess that's where all they don't have money. I was going to say that's where all the rich people go, but they don't have money. They're a fourth density being, and apparently they trace their lineage back to the Earth, and some of them, including the Anshar here, back like 18 million years. Here's a new image of the Anshar Library in Antarctica, the beginning of partial disclosure, which we want to avoid. Recently, I was brought down to the Anshar city. I was teleported and found myself in an area I hadn't been. It was a hangar bay that was full of these very large egg-shaped craft. And waiting there for me was Gonzalez, Korey, and two of the very quiet Asian-looking groups that have the crystal under their skin on their forehead. They all have a crystal implanted under their forehead. And they're very tall, they're very quiet, and they have a very, very strong presence. They don't have to talk.